You've probably seen the videos. 10 things that make you look poor. Habits broke people have. Every finance channel has made one. But almost none of them explain why these things make you look poor. They just give you a list like it's common sense. It's not common sense. It's psychology. Every single item on that list works because of a specific mental shortcut your brain and everyone else's brain is running constantly without you noticing. So today, we're not doing another list video. We're doing the autopsy. We're going to take the most common looks poor habits and open them up to see the actual behavioral science underneath. Because once you understand the mechanism, you stop reacting to the list, and you start seeing the pattern everywhere. Here's the uncomfortable starting point. Humans are terrible at judging actual wealth. We can't see someone's bank balance, their investment portfolio, or their debt. So instead, our brain does what it always does when it lacks direct information. It substitutes a proxy. It looks for visible signals and treats them as if they were the real thing. This is called the representativeness heuristic, judging something by how well it matches a familiar pattern, instead of judging the actual underlying data. A person driving a new car represents our mental image of successful. So the brain fills in the rest. Successful, disciplined, financially stable. None of that is verified. It's inferred. The problem is, this heuristic runs both ways. It doesn't just make flashy things look rich, it makes certain ordinary, harmless behaviors look poor, purely because they don't match the mental template we've built for a financially secure person. That's the real subject of this video. Not the habits themselves, the templates your brain is matching them against. Let's start with the most obvious category. Behaviors that signal scarcity, the appearance of not having enough, even when that's not true. Haggling and price checking in public. Comparing prices out loud, asking for discounts in front of others, visibly hesitating at checkout. These read as scarcity signals because they resemble survival mode behavior. In real financial hardship, every dollar is tracked because every dollar matters for survival. So when your brain sees someone doing that, it pattern matches to hardship, even if the person doing it is a millionaire who simply hates being overcharged. This connects to something economists call scarcity mindset, studied extensively by Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir. Their research found that scarcity, real or perceived, narrows attention onto the immediate cost of things, a phenomenon they call tunneling. The visible symptom of tunneling, obsessive price focus, looks identical whether the scarcity is real or just a personality trait like frugality. Observers can't tell the difference. They just see the symptom and assume the cause. Carrying debt visibly, buy now pay later stickers, layaway plans, financing conversations happening in public, triggers the same mechanism. It's not the debt itself that reads as poor. It's that debt makes financial strain visible, and visibility is the entire signal. A person with a $50,000 mortgage looks financially secure. A person financing a $500 phone in front of you looks broke. The actual math is almost never in favor of that judgment, but perception isn't built on math. It's built on visibility. Now the opposite category, behaviors people adopt specifically to avoid looking poor, which often backfire and produce the exact same judgment. Overbranding. Logos in oversized fonts, visible brand names, matching head-to-toe outfits from a single luxury label. This is where signaling theory comes in, a concept from economics originally used to explain things like peacock feathers and college degrees. A signal only works if it's costly and hard to fake. But heavy logo placement is cheap to fake relative to actual wealth. A $200 item can carry the same logo as a $2,000 item. Because the signal is easy to imitate, sophisticated observers discount it. It stops signaling wealthy and starts signaling trying to appear wealthy, which reads as insecurity, not security. This is why old money aesthetics, sometimes called quiet luxury, deliberately avoid visible branding. It's not a style choice, it's signaling logic. Removing the logo makes the signal harder to fake, because now you need contextual knowledge, fabric quality, tailoring, brand reputation, to even recognize the value. That barrier to entry is what makes it a credible signal again. Lifestyle inflation posted publicly, every purchase, every upgrade, every treat-yourself moment broadcast, creates something researchers call conspicuous consumption, a term coined over a century ago by economist Thorstein Veblen. Veblen's core insight still holds. Spending done specifically to be seen spending is read differently than spending done privately. The public nature of the display itself becomes the tell. It suggests the purchase's main value is social proof, not personal utility, and social proof spending is heavily associated, in the observer's mind, with insecurity about status rather than confidence in it. Here's where it gets more interesting because looking poor isn't actually a fixed judgment. It's entirely relative to the room you're in. This is social comparison theory, first proposed by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1954. Festinger's core claim: humans don't evaluate themselves in absolute terms. We evaluate ourselves relative to a reference group. A person earning $80,000 a year can look wildly successful in one social circle and completely unremarkable, even behind, in another. Nothing about their actual finances changed. Only the reference group did. This explains something that confuses a lot of people. Why some genuinely wealthy individuals get labeled cheap or acting poor, while some financially struggling individuals are perceived as doing great. It's never about the number. It's about the gap between the number and the reference group's expectation. It also explains why looks poor content performs so well. The videos aren't really teaching viewers about wealth. They're handing viewers a reference group to compare themselves against. The list becomes the yardstick. And once you have an external yardstick, you stop asking, am I financially okay, and start asking, do I match the list? Which are two completely different and often unrelated questions. Now let's talk about why this specific genre of video is everywhere right now. Looks poor content is extremely cheap to produce and extremely easy to engage with, because it triggers social comparison and mild status anxiety at the same time, two of the strongest engagement drivers that exist. Viewers don't just watch the list. They mentally check themselves against every item. That's active engagement, not passive viewing, and platforms reward exactly that kind of interaction. There's also a secondary layer. Many creators making these videos are indirectly selling something: a course, a budgeting app, a financial product, and the looks poor framing does something clever. It doesn't just entertain. It manufactures mild insecurity, and insecurity is one of the most reliable precursors to a purchase decision. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a well-documented pattern in marketing psychology, sometimes described as problem agitate solve. Show a problem the viewer didn't know they had, agitate it slightly, then offer the solution. None of this means the individual tips are wrong. Most of them are directionally reasonable. But it's worth knowing the container the advice is arriving in. Here's the actual point of this video. Every signal we've talked about, scarcity signals, status compensation, comparison, measures perceived wealth. None of it measures real financial position, savings rate, debt-to-income ratio, investment growth, emergency fund coverage. Those numbers are invisible. They don't photograph well. Nobody makes a viral video titled 10 boring numbers that actually determine if you're financially secure, because boring numbers don't trigger comparison the way appearances do. This creates a strange inversion. The person optimizing hardest for not looking poor, buying the right car, avoiding visible discounts, upgrading constantly, is often making decisions that directly work against becoming actually wealthy, because every one of those signals costs money that could otherwise be saved or invested. Meanwhile, the person who seems to look poor by comparison, driving an old car, price-checking without embarrassment, avoiding public purchases, is frequently the person with the healthier balance sheet, precisely because they've opted out of paying for the signal. This is sometimes called the concept of stealth wealth, real financial security that deliberately produces almost no external signal at all. It's not about hiding money out of shame. It's a recognition that visible signals and financial security are, more often than not, in direct competition for the same dollars. So the next time you see a list of things that make you look poor, you'll notice something. Almost every item on it is really about visibility, not actual financial health. The habits that get mocked are the ones that are easy to see. The habits that actually build wealth, automatic saving, boring index funds, paying off debt quietly, living below your means without announcing it, are almost invisible by design. Which means the goal was never to stop looking poor. The goal was to stop optimizing for how you look and start optimizing for what's actually true. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, subscribe. We do this every week, taking the financial advice everyone repeats and showing you the psychology actually running underneath it.